All right, let's go for round two of the Prusa Bear live stream. Trying a different camera angle today. Um, as you build the frame, it definitely gets a bit bigger and out of focus of the camera. And we'll try that. You might see my semi-bald noggin from time to time, but that's all right. I've accepted that. So today, I don't have the tablet from the previous episode. That is my wife's, and it is not here. I am going to be using my phone. We made it as far as mounting the Y rod holders, the Y motor mount, and the idler. Everything was spaced. What I did off camera between the last video and this video is the power supply mount here. Sorry about that. My wife dropped off nice iced coffee. But as I was saying, we left off with adding the Y-axis parts. What I did off camera was added this power supply bracket. I had missed a T-slot nut from from one of the steps, so I had to take off this corner bracket here, slip in the T-nut, and then I could attach this. And then the only other thing that I did was just push the Y rods down. So we can see from how smooth this is going. I don't know if you probably can't hear that because I'm using my mic, headset mic, but this is, I don't want to say smoother than what it was on the Mark III, but it's fairly smooth. So I must have got the spacing just right. Some of the other things that I did was I took the power supply and I added the Galaxy Space Gray printed parts, which was replaced by from the black ones that came with the Prusa. I think this is really going to look sharp. And then I also took the electronics out of the other case and I replaced it for these printed parts here. Other thing to note was the electronics cabinet that I had an insert for the nylon uh, extruder assembly. There's a piece of nylon filament in there. This one has a cap that gets screwed on here instead. So this is upgraded from what I previously had. So I'm going to go with that. So not going to get as far as we did in terms of progress this time, but one of the things I wanted to do today was to sleeve these cables from the X motor mount. I'll have to do the Y, but just to show the process here, I have some cable sleeving that I had bought off of eBay. I think it was Acid Mods cable sleeving. I took the screws out of the stepper motor here. You can see 4 screws that come out. And then you need to pull this thing apart. I found that to be a fairly difficult process. But if you just wiggle it back and forth, you should be able to pop this back cover off. Keep pulling. There we go. And then it will access the wires from the inside. And the reason we want to access the wires from the inside is to get the cable sleeving all the way inside so it doesn't slip out. So what I'm going to do is sleeve this on onto the wires. See how that processes by myself. Go. Uh, just to mention, I did pre-measure this before I started this stream. Not just guessing here. So the plan is you get this nice stepper motor with the sleeving on there, which I think personally looks a lot better than using this separation plastic cable shroud. It's not my favorite. So once we get, I think this little plastic cover can come off. Get this as far in as we can get it. And I will be right back with some heat shrink. Alright, I got a bunch of different sizes. We'll see how that goes. Alright, now let's see what's actually going to fit. We could be lucky to get that on there. That would be beneficial. So we'll cut a tiny piece of heat shrink. We may have to heat that up. I guess the other thing we could do is just try some electrical tape. just to slide the heat shrink on. Let's see if we can fit this one on. I think we're going to be out of luck trying to get this size on. Unless I can thread. Maybe we'll get it here. Oh, look at that. We got it. So what we're going to do, push this heat shrink up as high as we can get it to the motor wires. And we're going to shrink it in place. Okay. Get this little plastic guard back on. Top. Snaps on like that. And then we've got our heat shrinked cable, which I think looks way better. So we'll just pop these screws back in and continue on with the build. It is officially not a 3D printer build until I drop a tool on the floor. Every single time I am building or doing an upgrade to one of my printers, my wife is watching TV beside me. She will hear the frustration out of my voice as I drop Allen key after Allen key after Allen key. Alright, so now that that piece is on, we're going to cut one more heat shrink so that we can get the connector back on. About that much. Go. Now I took a picture of what the connector was supposed to look like. Actually, I could just refer to this one. Black, green, I think before we do that, I need to rebend these retention clips. And that's where this comes in handy. A little bit more. There. Now we can get the heat shrink as get the cable wrap as high as we possibly can, and then slide the heat shrink right over it like that. And then we will shrink that into place. Now, in my opinion, that looks much nicer. I'll be happy to have that showing on the side of my printer. Okay, so we did y-axis motor, idler, PSU lower. We did the y-axis heated bed. So now we want to get the GT2 belt back on. Turn this printer over onto this side. getting the cable tightness here is probably the most important thing beyond getting it lined up. I'm just going to do a dry fit right now. I didn't follow the instructions for this particular part. I hope I didn't need to, but you can see here how it appears that the belt is staying fairly flat and central to the drive gear. It's not moving over at all. The idler looks to be pretty good. It may be influenced to one side here. Let's see if it moves over. Not sure if you can hear that. Sounds pretty good to me. So we're gonna call that connected. Next, we're gonna do the Z motor mounts. So we need 2 motor mounts. We've got 1 motor mount, 2 motor mounts. These were printed in the Proto-Pasta HTPLA V3. This is the Highfive blue. 3D printing nerds. Specialty color. Camera won't do it justice, but this stuff looks absolutely fantastic. Happy to have this as one of the colors of this Bear upgrade. Only 2 colors. There might be 3 because the extruder is going to be carbon fiber PETG. Now, it says to assemble 3 M510, so we're going to need 6 T-nuts. We'll go into our T-nut bag here. We'll count out 5, 6. And then we need M5 by 10s. We got these are M5 by 12s. M5 by 10. And we're going to most likely need 6 of those. Yep, 6. We'll count those out. That's 6. Those to the side. And 2 of the motor mounts. Perfect. So we got that. So assemble 3 M510 screws with 3 T-nuts on each motor mount and slide them in from the top. Wondering how they were going to pull that off. So thank goodness we can do it ahead of time. So fit the screw in like that. We'll do all 3. 1, 2, 3. And then when you look at your T-nut, you've got, see if this can show it. You've got a side that has a burr as I drop it, and then you have a flat side. Look, oh, gotta get the camera like that. So you want flat side facing the mount. The burr will go in towards the extrusion. Now you've got 2 different parts here. You've got stepper motor hole, and then you've got the Z-rod hole. In order to determine what's left and right, I'm just looking at the other printer, but the steel rods are on the outside. So this particular piece goes on this side of the printer, and this one will go on this side here. So what they want us to do is to pre-thread them on. I'll need to turn this so I can see what I'm doing. get these T-nuts in from the top. Like that. We'll do the next guy here first. Placing in 1, 2, 3. I was talking to one of my friends, and he's like, it seems to take you a lot longer to build these things than some of the other videos. Well, this is unedited, and to be fair, I don't live stream, like, ever. So, doing this for a camera, in front of a camera, I'm not going to say I'm nervous or anything like that, because there's nobody actually watching right now. But, trying to keep conversation going and be somewhat useful actually makes things take slower. So, that is why. There, those fit really, really nicely. So we'll turn this back towards. Grab a sip of my coffee. So ensure the Z motor mounts are touching the bottom horizontal V slot and that they are at 90 degrees compared to the vertical V slot. So meaning this flat is 90 degrees to the vertical V slot here. Which I don't have a doubt that they're going to be just fine. So you want this all the way down, nice and flat, pushed in. Now I need to find the Allen keys I was using. Were these the ones? Yes, it was. Alright, see if I can get this at an angle that you could potentially see it. We'll pull the bed up. Oh, great. Anyway, we pull this up, pushing down as I tighten this up. I'm not going to over tighten these. After all, these are 3D printed brackets, but you can get them fairly snug. There we go. Of course, this is always fun. We're having fun. This is fun. There we go. For the sake of saving time here, I am not going to show those screws. I don't want this thing falling off again. So I'm just going to tighten them up in the spot here. Or at least one of them. There we go. And for you guys to see. Get that nice down and flat. And then I'll just double check that this one was flat. I should probably adjust that one. So I went on Twitter, I think it was yesterday, and I had just tagged on Tech and Slice Engineering and Chris Warcocky. Never heard his last name, but I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. And just asking how I could get my hands on the Mosquito Bondtech extruder specifically made for the Mark III. And it's not out yet. And there was a live stream by Chris where he was testing it out, and he has a Mosquito Magnum hot end on there. And he's really getting the speeds up on there, and I'm pretty sure with some tuning myself, I could really make those things. I could make that thing fly, but unfortunately, it's not out yet. The live stream showed that there was a couple things that needed to be done that would improve that product before they actually sell it to consumers, which is good. I mean, that's the best way to test it is to give it to some enthusiasts and see how they can improve it. That's exactly what Chris was doing on the live stream, so yay. But unfortunately, got to wait a little bit before I can get my hands on that, so that means whatever I put onto this printer now for the time being, I will eventually change to that. And my plan is every time I do some sort of printer upgrade, I'll do a live stream on it, which is kind of why I'm going to do. There may not be like super long live streams, but as long as I can move progress on here, because to be fair, this printer is part of my business, and my business is to 3D print parts for people. I have some great clients, uh, lots of them in the video game industry where you do retro console modding. You can get these little adapters. I do a lot of that stuff. I print for the place that I currently work at. My full-time job is working at a local manufacturing facility here. And fixtures and jigs and templates are fantastic things for 3D printing. I can't seem to find the right size Allen key to take these motors off here. That is a pain. Just in case you didn't see it from the previous. This was the Godzilla from Chaos Cortec. I printed this on one of my stock Mark III's. Man, did this print nice. This is on the Galaxy PLA Space Gray from Form Futura. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Still not seeing that Allen key. Did I stick it back in the bag? Oh, no, shoot, that's just a screw. I can't believe it was in front of me the whole time. Amazing. So right now I'm just off camera here taking one of the Z motors off the stock Prusa. Hindsight, I could have prepped that ahead of time. So the room that I'm in is, I don't want to say like my man cave, but it is a place that I can run my 3D printing business, and I can do some retro gaming. I can watch some TV. I can also hoard a lot of the stuff that is the projects that I do in this room. So I am a father of 3 children, and they have pretty much taken over the entire house. And I had a really nice office upstairs, but as you have more children, they need a bedroom, and I lost my office. My wife and I decided that it was time to finish the basement, so we did that. And in that process, I was able to at least custom make this room to what I needed, and I am super happy with it. I added 3 specific breakers. I planned on running a lot of printers. I have a fairly large PC that you can see in the corner here. Um, Size isn't everything, but it's a 6-core Intel, got a 1070 graphics card. I'm not a huge gamer. I've got some friends that definitely are persuading me to get into the PC gaming community, and I tend to stick to Xbox. You can hate me for that, but I like my Xbox. Okay, liberated one motor. Let's liberate the next. What I'd really like is a modification for the Prusa. They have the LCD, but I find that LCD is just, we can do better already in 2019. The click LCD, I'm just kind of not a fan of that. I would like to see, maybe the Panikit Vicky screen. I really like that one. I also really like, that from Duet, but we're not putting a Duet board on this thing. We are staying 8-bit Marlin firmware here, so you got to work with what we can. I have a Vicky Mini screen just hanging around for. I was working on a Anycubic. It was Anycubic. Man, come on, John. Delta printer. Something plus. Linear plus. Anycubic Linear plus Delta. Very nice machine. Just I bought it before they had the auto leveling, and I suck with firmware, which is unfortunate, but it is the truth. I am not that good with firmware. I'm just going to clean off these rods before I put them back on. And a lot of people were, struggling for helping on the forums at the time. Anycubic obviously wasn't going to support me. They're just out there to sell the printer, and as long as there's no quality defects, the rest is up to you to figure out how to drive it. It's like they sell you a car, but you got to get your own driver's license. And anyway, I bought it's called a rearm board that allowed you to repurpose a ramps board but have the 32-bit SmoothieWare. After playing with that for a couple days, I realized that I did not like that at all. And then to top that off, Panikit, their support is awful. So he provided a pinout for the board, but I actually quite think I had some hardware issues on that board. I don't know if anybody's going to watch this in the future, if they can relate to that. I sent the guy a couple emails. He never responded, so I just kind of gave up on that whole printer. So perhaps that's a project I can revisit in the future. I like deltas. I actually have a Anycubic Predator in the corner, and I think that thing is fantastic. Alright, so we want the 2Z motor fronts. That is these 2Z motor fronts. These two little caps here. Got those. We want 8 M3 by 12 screws. I believe that's these guys that I had just taken. We're going to need one more. Grab that right now. Eight, one y-axis. I would imagine that's this. 2Z motors. Oh, and 2Z smooth rods. So we got to get those out. Take these tops off quickly, and then I should be able to just pull those right out. Got him. I also want to clean these off. Alright, x-axis is not visible in these figures and will not be visible in the following ones. Fair enough. So assemble x-axis on both the motors. So it looks like the motor cables are coming out the sides here. Ensure the motor cables are facing the Y smooth rods. So I'm going to make the assumption here. I showed the sleeving at the beginning. I will eventually do these for the sake of getting this printer up and running. These are somewhat hidden. I'm not too worried about it. But, you put these guys in there. You take your Y motor front and then you slide it in like that. And then we'll put the screws in. One thing to note, on the Prusa, the stock Prusa, you can't just slide these motors in like that. I appreciate this design specifically for that. You had to take the motor off the front and actually pull it through the bottom in order to get access to the screws to attach it on here. So if you're doing any sort of maintenance or whatever would require you to take that motor off, that was a pain. This, not so much. You just remove these screws and slide it out. That's awesome. Good job. I think his name is Greg. Good job, Greg. So we will slide this in. Go and start putting some screws in. I'm going to go lightly on all of them for now, and then we'll tighten them up in a cross pattern. I printed these parts maybe a little thicker than the suggested. I used 3 perimeters, and then I went 55% infill on the gyroid infill Prusa slicer settings. I printed the I printed all my parts on just the stock PLA settings. Now, one thing to note, it's suggested that you print your parts in ABS or PETG, but for me, for these standard frame parts, I don't think that's going to be a big deal. So I'll make a video if I am completely wrong and I have egg on my face, but I think PLA is going to be just fine for this. Plus, there's such nicer looking PLA products than there is ABS and PETG at this point. I've seen some stuff on Twitter from some filament suppliers. There's a black with gold sparkle PETG. I think that looks kind of neat. Um, but if you want something unique, PLA is usually going to offer those options. All right, now that those are on, I'm going to go back here, tight, 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 and then just do it one more time. Nice and solid. Same thing here. Do a crisscross pattern. Instructions don't say to do this, but we're going to do that. All right, did that. So we screwed those in. Ensure the Y motor, the motor cables are facing the Y. Push the Z smooth rods carefully in the holes until you hear them touching the motors. All right. Tight fit. That touched the motor. This one here. That also touched the motor. Now we've got the Z motor, or the Z axis partially done. Next step. Okay. So 2Z tops. What? I'm wondering why we're doing this now and not putting the x-axis in. But to be fair, I do need to upgrade my Mark III x-axis. You know what? We're gonna put it on. I don't know why they're saying don't put it on. But we're going to drop this on for now. Okay. I'm gonna need that guy. There should be one more. And this guy. Wonder if this is where they go. I would imagine so. Okay. So we need those. 2Z tops. We need 4 T-nuts. So let's get our T-nuts. And then we need four, I think they're the M10s again, M5 by M10. That's not this. I think that's these yucky guys. Yep. Almost out of M10s. Dump the whole bag out and toss the bag. Alright, so assemble two M5 and slide them on from the top. So, we got two spots. Put the screws through. Put the screw through here. And we will spin that guy on. We'll do the same thing here. Now, I'm going to slide it on. Need to get a good angle of this. There we go. Slide that guy on. Push it into the corner. Make sure it's flush with the top here. And we're going to tighten that up. Fits perfectly in between. Snug it up. There we go. Do the same thing on this side. Screw. T-nut. Screw. T-nut. We want this. That. That is nice and flush. There we go. So tighten strongly. All M5 10 mils. So there's no gaps in these things. Those look good. Next step. What do we got? Now we're moving on to the LCD cover. So, I think this LCD cover just snaps off. Well, we'll just take it off. So there was a bunch of cable clips that came with the Prusa Bear files. I didn't print any of them. It doesn't mean I'm not going to do any cable management, but with an upgrade like this, I think it looks gorgeous. I'm going to come up with either something original for cable routing, or if I do it, I'm just going to scale those clips so they're nice and thick and long, and I can snap kind of like full channel supports in here. Alright, so we got this taken. I guess it's screwed into there, so that's how we're not going to get it off. So we got one screw here. Extra squeaky. As I'm taking these things apart and I see some of the silk screen, LDO Motors. I gotta look into these guys because LDO Motors is who made the frame kit. I bought it from MakerParts.ca, but LDO Motors is the manufacturer. What I'm noticing is that the motors, obviously, these are LDO motors. LDO Motors is the supplier of the LCD screen, so they must dabble a lot into the 3D printing market space. So this LCD screen, I don't believe I'm wrong in saying that it's a RepRap. What's it called? RepRap discount? I can't remember who manufactured this. But there's different versions. You can get different colored displays here. A bunch of nuts falling out of here. I think I can slide that one off. I think this one just slides off. And we have this thing taken apart, so I'll move these to the side. So I have this piece here. I should have the LCD. Not this one, but the one I printed for this particular project. Here we go, by Godzilla. So we've got Highfive blue mounts, and then we've got the Galaxy PLA front. Not necessarily what I wanted to go with, but I ran out of the Highfive blue, and I didn't want to wait. I have a patience issue when it comes to getting printer parts. I need to open the box. I need to look at it right away. I need to quickly build with it. Pisses my wife off because I'll come home from the mail, and that's the first thing I do. Like a kid. So we just push this into spot. Oh, there's supports on this print that I did not clean out. Right here, there's two support pieces that come directly onto the model. Those are design supports. I didn't add supports in to print any of this. So you'll want to make sure you get that off, otherwise your piece is going to bow and not snap in like that. Which gives it this. I think that looks awesome. So we'll put these on first, obviously. Make sure I do this right. Follow the instructions. So get your LCD supports A, get your LCD support B, get your screen cover. End caps. Oh yeah, we got those little bare end caps. spare end caps. And that would be the end of that. So we need two M5 by 10s. These are the only ones left. We got those. We're going to need two T-nuts. We're going to have the 8 M5 set screws. That's over there. And two. We got the two T-nuts. Okay. So assemble the LCD supports onto the screen cover. Alright, so the instructions don't take into account that I switched my piece here. So let's put those supports on first. I think. Or those just snap in after. Nah, those gotta go on now. So we want to put in, are these identical? No, one has the SD card support piece. That's gonna slide on like that. Imagine this one's gonna slide on like that. Yep. Oops. That makes sense. And then we'll put the front on and we'll put the screws on and should be good to go. There's spots made specifically for these pieces to sit. You want to make sure you get these into that spot. Then you can push it in. Everything seems to be sitting nicely. You still have access to the screws. I can't remember exactly where those screws are. I think there's only two that get screwed in. Yeah, the two bottom pieces. The top is held in by a retention clip. That's in the spot. That's in the spot. Perfect. Grab these. Sorry, I seem to drift off camera to do some of this stuff. Nothing overly exciting to do this piece. This wasn't part of the Bear upgrade itself. Just me being extremely picky with how I'm going to take my printer apart. I want it to look exactly the way I want it to look. And I know right now I'm still compromising because I didn't get to use my HTPLA Highfive blue. I'm also not made of money, so I used what I had in stock here. I think the Galaxy Space Gray looks fantastic anyway, so perhaps that was a good thing. Makes it unique, if anything. There we go. Dropped it. Okay. And that's going to go onto the bottom one. I'm just wondering, should I offset? I think offsetting the LCD looks pretty awesome. Yeah, let's just mess with it and do it offset. I like that idea. We'll slip in one, two T-nuts. Pretty sure I should attach these LCD cables so that I can get access to them later. And almost wrecked them, taking them out of that 30-30 slot. So these, if you've built in Mark III, you can see that they're at least labeled 1 and 2, and they're labeled 1 and 2 on the LCD, so make sure they go in the right spots. That's 1. Automatically makes this guy number 2. Go. Like that. Take our M10. Alright, slide this over to the side because I just want to be different. Tighten them up. There, got that mounted. Now, there was a little bag of set screws. We got these small screws. Those. Here we go. That goes on these cute little end caps. So if you can see, they have a bear printed into them as part of the design. They slide into the slots to kind of complete the piece. Those simply screw into here, and you're going to snug them up against the inside of the extrusion here, like that. I think it's a nice little touch. You're not leaving exposed ends. So awesome. First one broke off. Of course, it's right on the front, and you're going to see that. So shoot. That one on. that one on. And it will go on and on and on, just like that. I have a feeling I'm going to need to be very careful with the rest. Maybe open them up slightly, just the way it's printed. It goes with the layer lines like this, and if you put any screw in there without making sure there's enough clearance, they just break right off. So I'll be careful with that on the rest. And that's where we're going to end the live stream today, and hopefully the next one we're going to just take this thing straight to completion. So I'll get our good thumbnail shot here. What it looks like. I think it's looking fairly good. I'm definitely happy with the colors I chose. So far the build is going quite well. Made a couple mistakes, but we've recovered and didn't take too much longer. So I plan on taking this thing straight to completion through the live stream. So if you like what you see, subscribing is fantastic. I plan to continue making videos. Slow start, but we'll keep it going. If you got comments on how I can improve doing the live stream, just let me know. I'll make sure that I take that into consideration. And yeah, I had fun. I enjoy doing these things. So let me know in the comments what you'd specifically like to see on the next video. And have yourselves a fantastic evening. Take care.